If you've been storing certain everyday foods in your refrigerator, you might be unknowingly creating toxins that your body can't easily get rid of. Today, we're breaking down 7 common foods that actually become dangerous, unstable, or nutritionally ruined when kept cold, including one item most households refrigerate without thinking twice. You'll learn what happens chemically, why the fridge accelerates spoilage for some foods, and the simple storage habits that keep you safe. We are not talking about mild flavor changes. We're talking about reactions that can lead to digestive irritation, inflammation, or in some cases, toxin formation. Stay with me until the end because the final item is the one most people definitely have in their fridge right now. And fixing that mistake alone can prevent weeks of fatigue, bloating, or unexplained headaches. I'm Dr. Eli Morgan, a physician who studies the link between everyday habits and long-term health in older adults. My goal is to help you avoid silent mistakes hiding in your kitchen and protect your energy, memory, and longevity with simple science. Section 1. The silent toxic switch. When cold turns, this everyday food dangerous. Most people think refrigeration slows spoilage. But for starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, the cold does something far more troubling. When exposed to low temperatures, their natural starches rapidly convert into simple sugars. And once you cook them afterward, those sugars react with amino acids and form acrylamides, compounds linked to nerve irritation, gut inflammation, and long-term cellular stress. For older adults, this is especially risky. Your liver and kidneys don't detoxify as efficiently after age 60. So even small amounts of these compounds can stack up over time, leading to unexplained fatigue or slower recovery after meals. I once worked with Linda, 72, who ate roasted sweet potatoes almost daily, believing they were the healthiest carb. She stored them in her refrigerator for convenience. But her post-meal blood sugar swings were unpredictable, and her digestion worsened. Simply switching to room temperature storage, dark, cool, and dry, stabilized her symptoms within 2 weeks. Here's the safe rule. Keep sweet potatoes outside the fridge until cooked. Store them with airflow, never sealed in plastic. Use them within 1 to 2 weeks to avoid moisture-driven rot. Cold doesn't preserve these foods, it rewires them. Section 2. The mold accelerator when cold air turns. This kitchen staple dangerous. Many people assume the refrigerator protects whole onions, but the opposite happens. Cold, humid air forces onions to break down at the cellular level, releasing moisture and sugars that feed surface mold and allow bacteria to spread more easily. What looks like a small fuzzy spot on the outside can indicate microbial growth already threading through the inner layers, even when it's not visible yet. For adults over 65, this matters more than you think. Mild mold exposure can trigger sinus irritation, coughing, brain fog, and digestive discomfort, especially for those with weaker mucosal immunity. These reactions often get dismissed as seasonal allergies when the true culprit is sitting in the crisper drawer. A patient of mine, Robert, 68, loved making homemade soups. He stored a large bag of onions in the fridge for months. But he kept getting a nagging morning cough and itchy eyes. Symptoms that vanished once he switched to proper storage. Here's what works. Keep whole onions in a dry, breathable space like a counter basket or pantry. Avoid plastic bags, they trap moisture. Refrigeration is only appropriate after an onion is cut, and even then, store it sealed and use within 48 hours. Cold doesn't preserve whole onions. It accelerates the very decay you're trying to prevent. Section 3. The flavor killer that becomes a health risk in the fridge. Garlic is one of the most powerful natural antimicrobials, but only in its natural state. The moment you place whole garlic bulbs in the refrigerator, the cold triggers a premature sprouting and disrupts the enzymes that give garlic its protective compounds. As the cloves sprout, they lose allicin, the molecule responsible for garlic's immune-supporting and heart-protective effects, and instead become bitter, watery, and more prone to mold threads that can grow between the cloves. For older adults, sprouted or mold-tainted garlic can cause bloating, indigestion, sinus flare-ups, and even mild dizziness if consumed regularly. These symptoms often appear subtle, which is why many people overlook the connection. I once worked with Marjorie, 74, who used garlic daily believing it helped her cholesterol, which it can. But she kept the bulbs in her refrigerator where they sprouted quickly and developed micro-mold between the layers. She didn't notice anything unusual until she started waking up with headaches and stomach discomfort. After switching to proper storage, those symptoms faded within days. Safe habit to follow. Store whole garlic in a cool, dry, ventilated space. Not the fridge. Avoid sealed containers. Use mesh bags or a simple countertop bowl. Refrigerate only peeled or chopped garlic, and even then, use it within 24 to 48 hours. Cold ruins garlic strength, and your body feels the consequences. Section 4. The carb trap. When refrigeration turns this everyday food into a digestive hazard, bread seems like the type of food that should last longer in the refrigerator, but chilling it actually triggers a process called starch retrogradation, which makes the bread dry out rapidly, stiffen, and become far more prone to surface mold. But here's the part most people don't know. Once the bread becomes stale, your stomach has to work significantly harder to break down the hardened starches, which can lead to gas, bloating, and unpredictable blood sugar spikes, especially for older adults. The cold environment forces moisture outward, leaving the interior tough and the crust damp, which is the perfect condition for mold spores to latch on. And because bread is porous, even small mold spots often mean the contamination has already spread invisibly underneath. One of my patients, Harold, 70, loved making sandwiches every morning. He believed refrigerating bread helped it stay fresh longer, but he constantly complained about stomach tightness and afternoon energy crashes. When he switched to counter storage for fresh bread and used his freezer for long-term storage, both issues improved noticeably. The safer method is simple. Keep fresh bread at room temperature for daily use. Freeze what you won't finish within 2 to 3 days. Freezing stops mold without damaging the texture. Avoid the refrigerator entirely for whole loaves. Cold doesn't preserve bread's quality, it breaks it. Section 5. The nutrient destroyer when refrigeration ruins. This vitamin-rich food. Tomatoes are one of the few foods whose entire flavor and nutrient profile collapses when exposed to cold air. Inside the fridge, the chill stops the enzymes responsible for developing their natural sweetness and aroma. The result? The tomato's internal structure begins to break down, turning the flesh mealy, watery, and far more vulnerable to hidden microbial growth. But there's a deeper issue for older adults. Once chilled, tomatoes lose up to half of certain volatile compounds that help support antioxidant activity, especially lycopene formation. These compounds matter for eye health, heart health, and inflammation control. 3 things that become more important after age 60. I once consulted with Evelyn, 69, who ate tomatoes daily for the heart protective benefits, but she stored every tomato in her refrigerator to make them last. Over time, she noticed increasing acid reflux and felt tomatoes didn't sit well anymore. Moving them to room temperature storage restored both taste and digestive comfort. Here's the safe approach. Store whole tomatoes at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. Refrigerate only when they're cut and consume within 24 to 48 hours. Allow chilled tomatoes to sit at room temperature for an hour before eating if necessary. It restores some flavor, but not the lost nutrients. Cold doesn't help tomatoes. It steals their vitality. Section 6. The ancient superfood that turns thick, gritty, and harmful in the fridge. Honey is one of the most stable natural foods on earth, but only when kept at room temperature. Once you put honey in the fridge, the cold forces its natural sugars to crystallize rapidly, creating a gritty texture and trapping moisture inside the jar. That trapped moisture can eventually lead to fermentation, altering the pH and encouraging the growth of yeasts that irritate the gut. For older adults, fermented or crystallized honey can cause bloating, temperature sensitivity after eating, and unpredictable blood sugar swings, especially if you rely on honey for its soothing, anti-inflammatory effects. When honey's enzymes are disrupted by cold, its natural antibacterial properties weaken, reducing many of the benefits you thought you were getting. A patient of mine, Mr. Dalton, 75, mixed honey into warm water to calm his throat each morning. But he stored his jar in the refrigerator where it crystallized into a thick paste. He noticed more bloating and less relief from his morning scratchiness. After moving honey back to a cool pantry shelf, the texture normalized, and so did his digestion. Here's the correct method. Keep honey sealed tightly in a dark room temperature cabinet. Never refrigerate whole honey. It speeds up crystallization. If your honey hardens, warm the jar gently in a bowl of hot water. Avoid microwaving. It destroys beneficial enzymes. Cold corrupts honey's natural healing power. Protect it by keeping it warm and stable. Section 7, the antioxidant powerhouse that turns nutritionally weak in the fridge. Melons, especially watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew, are packed with antioxidants that support blood pressure, hydration, and immune strength. But here's the part almost no one knows. When you refrigerate a whole, uncut melon, the cold slows the natural reactions that keep its antioxidants active. Studies show that chilling whole melons can reduce key nutrients like lycopene and beta-carotene far faster than storing them at room temperature. And there's a second issue. Cold temperatures change the fruit's cellular pressure, making the flesh grainy, watery, and more susceptible to bacterial contamination once you finally slice it. For older adults who may have weaker gut immunity, this can trigger cramps, bloating, or mild nausea you might blame on something you ate earlier. I worked with Janice, age 66, who kept whole watermelons in her fridge because she loved cold fruit. Yet she felt strangely bloated every time she ate it. Once she switched to keeping whole melons on the counter and refrigerating only after cutting, those symptoms disappeared. Here's the safest habit. Store whole melons at room temperature to preserve antioxidant levels. Once sliced, refrigerate immediately in a sealed container and consume within 2 to 3 days. Never leave cut melon uncovered. It absorbs odors and germs easily. Cold protects cut melons, but weakens whole ones. Final thoughts. Protecting your health starts with how you store your food. The biggest lesson here isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's understanding that temperature changes the chemistry of your food. For older adults, those shifts can affect digestion, blood sugar, inflammation, and energy more than most people realize. By keeping the right foods out of the fridge, you preserve their nutrients, prevent mold buildup, and avoid chemical changes that place unnecessary stress on your body. Small storage habits create big health advantages. A dry pantry shelf can protect your heart. A breathable basket can keep your immune system stronger. A little awareness can save you from fatigue, digestive discomfort, or hidden toxins hiding in plain sight. Simple changes, done consistently, protect your long-term well-being, starting right in your kitchen. Before you go, share one food you realized you've been storing wrong, and what change you'll make starting today. Your comment might help someone else avoid the same mistake. If this video helped you protect your health, remember to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss new senior-focused health guidance. And if you know someone who keeps their fridge a little too full, send this video their way.